We routed our way through Kanto. We suffered through Johto. We nearly drowned in Hoenn. And now it's time to climb the highest peaks in Sinnoh in our Pokemon Platinum Hardcore Nuzlocke. My name is Bracky, and welcome to the 4th installment of the Nuzlocke series, so let's jump right into it. But as per usual, rules. We play in set mode and we can't use items in battle, we can't level past the next gym leader's ace, only one Pokemon per route, and it has to be the first encounter, and all fights are to death. Pokemon dies instead, and it goes to the box on the left. So, let's jump into it. And we go again. Tree name Professor number 4, name Nutsub. And whoa, he's energetic this time. Mum warns us of the dangers of touching grass, and obviously being the 10-year-old rebel that we are, we grab our best frenemy and we head out. The only way of making sure a kid is going to do something is just warning them the dangers of doing it. So, as Nutsub is about to use the early game encounter routing technique of praying not to find anything, Professor Rowan stops us and rewards our stupidity with a weaponized animal. Sweet. We pick the Fire Chimp, weird choice with a Rock-type gym leader as the first one, but it will pay off eventually. We beat Nutsub for the first time in this run, and we head back home to break the news to our mum. But no emptiness syndrome is going to stop us from touching grass all over the region. We meet Nutsub in Route 201, and we head to Lake Verity for a legendary encounter. Pretty optimistic given the fact that we don't even have Pokeballs yet. In there's a not ominous at all dude staring at the lake mumbling some foreshadowing, and only then we realize we need something better than a net and some goodwill to get a legendary. We head to Sandgem Town for some resources. We get to name our starter, and after some experience we can say we have distilled Nuzlockes to a science, so we name our starter accordingly. And now we can actually start our Nuzlocke. We get a beaver as our first encounter in Route 201, a starling in Verity Lakefront, and only then Dawn teaches us how to catch Pokemon. Guess she should see the other 3 Nuzlockes that we made so far. And so should you if you haven't. We also get a cat in Route 202, and we make our way towards Jubilife City, where Dawn is waiting for us. We meet the worst secret agent ever, get our Route 204 encounter, a pesky worm, find enough clowns to fill a YouTube comment section, get our Pokewatch, get a duck in Ravage Path, and we're on our way to Orenburg for our first gym badge. But first, beating up whoever is not up. In this case, this guy. This fight is basically a chance for our chimp to roast some chicken and our cat to eat some penguin. Balanced diet. We lose our Route 203 encounter to a lack of preparation. I knew an abrupt would end up screwing us over. And we finally make it to Orenburg Gate, where we're able to skip the encounter and to Orenburg City. We go straight to Orenburg Mine to pick up the gym leader, kind of a pattern in these games, and we pick up a rock, not sure what scientific name we can use here. We find Rock harassing the local Geodudes, and we can get our gym leader fight. With a little bit of edging, the plan is to get our duck to sweep the whole thing. First the rock, then the snake, and finally the dinosaur. A little bit scary as the Cranidos just hits like a truck. But thankfully, he just leers, and we get our first badge. On our way to Eterna City, and with access to Rock Smash, we can fish out our Orenburg Gate encounter, a carb. And with this, we start brewing the plan. Right now, we have a pretty solid team with coverage for most types, and some immunities, and basically a sweeping machine in Gyarados. And we have 3 different Pokemon with Intimidate, which cover each other's weaknesses, meaning any physical attackers shouldn't be a big deal. So we're going to delay as many encounters as possible, stick to this core of Chimp, Carp, Cat, Beaver, Starling, and our Rocky Boy. On our way to Eterna City, we realize the hard-working secret agent hasn't moved from the town we found him, and not being able to find anything shady, like, I don't know, a ton of clowns giving away stuff to children and sending them to an old man that basically gives them a smartwatch, but not shady, not at all. And if that wasn't enough, turns out on the northern bit we see 2 goons messing with Tree Dog and Dawn. This guy's just useless. We team up with Dawn to do the policeman's job, wipe the floor with these grunts, and keep it going towards Eterna Forest and Eterna City. We make a stop in Floroma Town and find a couple grunts protecting the wildlife, kinda weird for the evil team. We get to Route 205 and Valley Windworks, where we find out they were protecting the wildlife and kidnapping people. We fight some grunts, fetch some keys, and as per usual, there's a pretty awkward fight at the end of it. This time with this monstrosity. First, we have to deal with a Zubat, no problem, but Perogly is fast, fat, and pretty ugly. We go first with Carp, and then to Starling to get 2 Intimidates on the cat, and we finish it up with our Chimp. We kick out the grunts, and we rejoin the kidnapped dad and the child that doesn't know which Pokemon it's talking about. As per usual, Luca is late to the party, and we can finally move on. Fine, I'll help you cross Eterna Forest. And finally we can. Fine, I will do tourism with North Sub. Oh, at least we got some great advice, I guess. And now we can finally... Fuck's sake! And now we can finally get to the Gardenia fight. And have it a Starling, a Butterfly, and our Chimp. It's not that hard. Don't really know why I was that eager about this whole thing. We start setting up double teams with Starling, and we sweep from there. First the Turtle, then the Cherry, and finally the Rose. And with that, second batch. After our second batch, we can go give a look at the Galactic hideout in Eterna City, where we finally see Luca doing something other than following us around. We get a cryptic Yoda-style tip on which stairs to use, and we make our way to the top of the building where we get into a fight with yet another planet. This time meaning we need to get our cat to chomp on a Zubat, and then start rolling our Intimidators to make the Skuntank useless until we can start damaging it with our Rock and finish it off with our Chimp. We get a free egg, a free bike, and a free explorer's kit, meaning we can play Minecraft in Pokemon for some reason, and we can keep it going towards Hard Home City through the bike lane.
Bike lane, don't stand in the bike lane! Stay in the bike lane! Can you please move?
Then Mount Coronet for a chat with the not ominous at all guy, and finally to the next gym challenge, the Ghost type specialist Fantina. For this one we need to plan a little bit ahead. As per usual, the gym leader is not in her workplace. It seems they are kinda lax with that in this line of work. So we pick her up at the contest hall. Oh, hi mum, thanks for the glitter. We tell Fantina to get back to work, and we start the third gym challenge. The problem we have here is we do have a couple immunities in Sterling and Beaver, but we don't have anything to hit her super effectively. So we start the fight with Chimp into Ghost. We taunt it to make sure he doesn't go for a Will-O-Wisp, and we start hitting it with Flame Wheel. Not actually sure why we taunted first, as Chimp wasn't going to get burned. Another Ghost comes in, and we send our cat, who can one-shot it with Spark. And finally, the big Ghost. We send in our Starling into the Shadow Ball, but we can only take one Psybeam, so we switch to the Carp, and we kill the Ghost yet again. It was a risky one, as crit on the Shadow Ball would have killed us, but we make it out without a single death. Turns out, Notsub was waiting for us, not sure how long he's been there, but with his ADHD, not sure he's been doing fine. We open with Chimp and get intimidated, baiting the fly move, so we send in Rock, who resists flying. Then he starts setting up double teams, and this could end up getting tricky. We're able to hit it with 2 wing attacks from Starling, and in comes the horse. We can handle this one with our Rock again, and hit it with a Rock Blast. In comes a Rose, and back in comes our Starling, killing it with a wing attack, and finally in comes a Penguin, and we can deal with it with our Carp. Hope the wait was worth it. And off we go into Route 209, Solacing Town. Oh, hi again, Nutsup. Seals? Haven't seen them, mate. They're usually by the sea, not sure why you would want to wear them. Route 210, say hello to the ducks. Route 215, and finally Veilstone City for another gym fight, this time against the fighting type leader. But before that, we find Dawn by the gym trying to sell us on the mall. The only thing we need... Oh my god, what the f*** is that? Oh, it's just a dude in the mask who happens to be a wrestler and a gym leader. Not only they are never in their own gyms, but they have to work several jobs. I'd hate to be a gym leader. Next, we face Maylene for the fighting type badge, which seems a little bit weird after just meeting a dude who was a wrestler, but not a fighting type specialist, but whatever. She starts with a Metatite, who dies instantly to an aerial ace. Next comes a Machoke wanting to use a rock type move, so we pivot through Rock to start intimidating it with Carp on the fighting type move. After 3 Dragon Rages, we're able to kill it, and in comes Lucario. We keep Carp in to start dealing some damage, since it can't really do that much to us. When it's on the red, we decide to switch to Cat on the healing turn, but turns out this leader doesn't even have the money for the usual annoying healing items. We end up intimidating it with Cat and finish it up with Sterling, and 4th batch in the back. As we get out of the gym, we find Dawn, who needs some help getting back her Pokédex. We find a couple grunts that are just no match, and look who it is, look her late to the party again. At least he knows something is up. And here is one of the bits that might spark controversy. We are delaying our encounters until the very end, but we definitely need something for the next water type gym. So we get the secret key to get it in the back of the appliance store, go to the old chateau to get a Rotom, and we let it in the lawnmower to get a ghost electric type with a grass move, the only coverage we had left. The Rotom bit is not the actual issue, but the lawnmower bit was supposed to be an event, but hey, if it's in the game, we should be able to use it. We keep it going through Route 112, get a guaranteed hippo in the Ruined Maniac's Cave, go through Valor Lakefront, Route 113, and finally Pastoria City for another nuts-up fight before the gym. We start with our cat into the bird, easy one. The horse comes in and we switch in our carp for an easy kill. As the rose comes in, we switch in our starling, and finally for the penguin, we get rid of it with a hit from our bird, and we finish it off with the carp. We finally get to challenge Crusher Wake, and we open with our lawnmower into a carp, who's 4 times weak to electric, so we fry us some dinner. Next comes an otter, for which we cycle through our intimidating carp and our cat until we can kill it with a thunderfang. And finally comes a toad, the whole reason why we needed a grass type. We switch on the mower, and we kill it with a leaf storm. 5th batch in the bag, only 3 to go. As we get out of the gym, we find Nuts-Up fangirling all over the dude we just stomped. Maybe not the best role model if you actually want to put up a fight. And off we go to follow the culprit. Oh, look, Luca, as per usual, late to the party. As we catch up with him and finally beats him up, he just starts crawling away. Oh, hi, Cynthia, I'm kind of busy for a history lesson. Oh, Nuts-Up is here too. Finally someone with their priorities straight. We can finally keep it going. We head first to Salesian Ruins for the default HM and go face the Wall of Ducks. To Celestic Town we go to deliver a parcel for Cynthia, and I can't imagine doing this in the fog. What a nightmare to have all your moves with reduced accuracy and all the trainers jumping. Never mind. We make it to Celestic Town, find Cynthia's grandma to deliver the parcel, and here we go with another history lesson from the old lady and the hostile spaceman. He starts with the weasel that takes some damage from a thunderfang. After the screech we send in Carp to make sure we don't die, we bite to try to make him use his potions, and we end up killing it with a dragon rage and an aqua tail. In comes the bat, we send in the starling for an intimidate and our cat for a second one and kill it with a thunderfang and a spark, and we finish off the crow with another thunderfang. We get the surf HM from the old lady, we meet Cynthia. Wait a minute, if you're here, then why the hell did we have to bring the charm ourselves? Vouch for you in the last video, don't let me down. And we are ready for the next gym in Canalave City. We make it here and surprise surprise, another Nuts-Up fight. He starts with a starling that gets chopped up by our mower. In comes a beetle, so we send in our own starling who eats the beetle. In comes a horse, we send in the carp to kill it with an aqua tail. And when the penguin comes in, we go for the slow and steady with 2 dragon rages and the switch to our cat to finish it off with a thunderfang. Finally comes a rose, who can be dealt with by our chimp. If you just came out of the gym with a badge, it shouldn't be that hard. Speaking of hard, steel type time. We face Byron, Rockstad, and it's definitely an increase in difficulty. We open with our ape into a pile of magnets. Knowing this doesn't have sturdy, we get rid of it with a close combat. In comes Metal Snake, and after the defense drop, we send in our carp, who kills the snake with 2 aqua tails. And finally comes something, who, having Stone Edge, could kill our carp. We send in the cat to take the Stone Edge. We use Swagger for some reason, risking the death of our cat. We switch into our rock to take the next Stone Edge, and thanks to it hitting itself and using Stone Edge, we were able to finish the fight with 2 earthquakes. 6 batches, 2 to go, almost there. We go educate ourselves to the library, but Nuts-Up wants us to go to the Iron Islands for some reason. We hop on the boat, we get the HM for strength, and get back to the library where we get another rant from the professor on evolution and how legendaries don't evolve. I would guess, because they are so old, they would have evolved already if they were going to. Like, time has existed forever. It would be weird if something could evolve into time plus. We get tasked to get to Lake Valor and... guess we are definitely going to Lake Valor, and no, the fish. Turns out explosions are an effective way of draining lakes. Only I knew it when I was draining the ocean monument. We get to Valor Cavern, where we get to fight the culprit of the carp genocide, and this won't go unpunished. A cat for your bat, a bird for your frog, and a carp for your cap. She tells us part of their evil plan, and for some reason implied killing tons of innocent fish, and where they will go next, Lake Verity. We get there as they are harassing the professor, and we rush to help Dawn against the planet with the fat cat. A cat for your bat, a mole for your cap, and a bird, a carp, a cat, and a chimp for your fat cat. Once beaten, turns out we've been late to the party ourselves, so much for blaming Luca for all of this. So we head north to find Nuts-Up and the next gem. First route to 11, then Mount Coronet, route to 16, route to 17, we run into a psychopath that goes walking in the hill by choice, like one of those rocks wouldn't give you brain damage. We find the rock climb HM in the middle of the snow, and finally Acuity Lakefront, where Nuts-Up just calls us slow, dude, I'm not the one who fell into the tub of Red Bull when I was little, and tells us how to use rock climb. But for that, we need to beat the Ice Up gym leader. She starts with a weasel into our gym. We can't get rid of it with a Mach Punch. In comes a Piloswine, and we use close combat to make sure it's dead in one hit. Next comes a Frostlass, and this is the tricky part of the fight. This has Snow Veil, meaning its evasion will increase in the hail, which is basically why we needed to one-shot everything before this. We send in our Carp, as it uses Psychic, we land a Bite, but that Blizzard does a ton of damage. We send in the Duck, who takes a crit, so the next move could be Blizzard, but it uses Double Team as we disable. No evasion for you, pal. We send in our Beaver, immune to the Ghost type attack, and we start throwing serves at it. As we put it in the red, we switch our Cat, and they send in a Bomber Snow who has Snow Warning problems. We send in the Chimp to get rid of the tree with a couple Flame Wheels, and in comes the Frostlass again. We send in the Duck for a sack, and we finish the fight with our Cat. First death, and it had to go against Candy's No. We keep it going with the main story to Lake Acuity, where we find Nutsup after being crushed by Jupiter. She tells us exactly where she's going to be. We try to cheer up Nutsup, like one thing is having a rival and a whole different thing is being a dick about it, and we head to Team Galactic headquarters in Driftvale. And we get there, as per usual, Luca being late, he tells us we need to go to the storage, and as it's tradition, this is the part of every Pokemon game where we are ramping up to the climax of the story. So you know what that means, a ton of grunt battles, well, more of a chance to test our fight dodging skills. Summary, not doing too well. We get the Galactic Key, pretty cool name for a key that just means we get more grunt fights, and access to a cult meeting where Cyrus sells the whole evil plan to his subjects, including the usual, the world might suck, but if you give me your money I'll make it suck less. Instead of facing the clearly evil guy, Luca takes a time out. We find out Galactic grunts sleep with dolls, nothing wrong with that, just felt in need of mentioning, and we get to the grand reveal. The ominous guy, who's definitely a cult leader, is scamming everyone and trying to destroy the world. Who would have thought? He starts a fight with a Weasel who dies to a Mach Punch, then a pretty big bad who's dealt with by our Rock, and finally a Crow that holds on to a Rock Blast, but can't do anything against our Cat. We don't allow scammers in this channel. He rewards us with a Master Ball for some reason, and we go save the little elves got evicted from their lakes with the explosions. We need to get rid of the last commander of Team Galactic in the building first, using our Cat and our Carp with the help of a crit on the Frog. We free the elves, and we get ready for the endgame. And now, The Encounters of the Run, by yours truly, Bracky. From Maran Island Tentacle into 19 Ponytail 207, Barbot from Eternal City, Wingle from 220, and Shallows from Canapale, Remo Raiden Pastoria, Buzelian Route to 13, Marillion Route to 15, Roselia from 210, Rose from 200, in the party is 2 over there. We got Rip from 4 Weeworks and Evie from Harhome and Porygon in Person City, Pseudo Wooden to 21, Hannor into 14, Chansey and Route 208. Cricket tuning for Valor Lake, Gather in 206, Gasly and Eterna Forest. Quaxar into 12, Tinglin into 11, and Soren near Acuity Lake. We got Swandabil Lake for the Snover to 17, Meditira to 16. Subat in the Tower, Silix in the Island, and Browser from Macaronet. We got Keeper from Wayward Cave, Magnet from Myron, but Saturn in Rat to 18. And we shouldn't forget the ones already there. All of the friends I have made it this way that the Ginger, Stolly, and Beater from Rotom and Chicks and Cider can do the bargain cop. Now that we have almost all of the encounters, we head to Mount Coronet for the final showdown with Team Galactic. And it is a long one. We go through the fog at the bottom and, well, it turns out it wasn't the way. We finally head in the right direction through the Route 207 entrance, find a busted door, and look who it is. Luca telling us we have to do all the work. Well, at least this could be the last time I'm disappointed in the effectiveness of the International Police, at least in the game. And this is yet another example of how HMs are one of the most annoying mechanics ever, forcing you to use one of the move slot for some pretty useless moves, except the obvious hiding the next section bit. But you already used ducks for that, it wouldn't be an issue if you got rid of them. Glad they are not in here anymore. And this annoying section is perfectly blended with some more fight dodging and some mandatory fights until we reach Spear Pillar. We find first 2 grunts that are just making time before we face the 2 planets in a double battle, and with Nutsup, this could either be super easy or super tricky. It all depends on what Nutsup decides to do. Last time he was kind of crushed by one of them. They start with a couple caps, and with our newly acquired shark, it's a matter of hitting crunches until they die. In the meantime, Nutsup has decided to go full stall with Munchlax. Once we kill the first cap, the fat cat comes in, so we are going to go for a stall ourselves with our newly acquired Metal Snake. We focus on the cat as the cat can't really do too much to us, and once the bat comes in, we keep on focusing on the right side. They kill the Munchlax with a poison fang, and the horse comes in, and in a lapse of judgment, they kill the cap. If we got rid of the bat, it would have been a 2v1 for the rest of the fight. Another bat is on the field, we keep the same plan going, but they managed to KO another one of Nutsub's Pokemon. Hope you weren't going for a Nuzlocke. Nutsub sends in his bird, we get rid of the bat on the right, and we finally got our 2v1. We kill the other bat after a couple turns, and finally in comes the skunk. We send in the chimp knowing they would go for the kill on the bird, sorry again Nutsub, and we finish the fight with... oh no. Oh no. Oh thank god, a crit there would have been devastating. Nutsub considers his job done, and in the meantime Cyrus has been just staring in the distance. He started the whole thing being ominous as hell, and he's going to finish that way. Turns out he was loading an awesome cutscene, right? Awesome for the time this was released. Damn, I'm old. And he summons the gods of space and time and all of the little elves, but also something unintended, who from the shadows it comes, dark and menacing, and gives Cyrus a big hug. What a cutie. Cyrus has also been able to summon the champion of the region somehow. See, this is getting involved with the real problems, Stephen. And Cynthia decides to jump into the weird portal with us following Cyrus, the three little elves, and the weird thing that just wanted a hug. Turns out that thing was Giratina, who was vanished to a realm for being too much of a Chad to listen to God. Of course it needs a hug. No, you're the Satanist. Just shut up. We jump into the wormhole and we are transported into the Relativity painting by Escher. If you don't get the reference, just look it up. And this whole thing is a mess. Well, more of a puzzle where we need, you guessed it, HMs. Even in hell, we need HMs. This is unreal. We make it to the end of the puzzle, and there is Cyrus, who could have learned something from all of this, like, I don't know, maybe trying to bend space and time to your will is a bad idea, Tenet, and we start the final fight against Cyrus for the end of Team Galactic. He opens with a fire dog, who dies to a dig from our shark, and in comes a weasel. Knowing it's going to go for a nice move, we send in the chimp, and kill it with a close combat, knowing the next one is going to be a carp, and we're going to have to switch anyway, better making sure it's gone. We send in the cat to lower its attack, and we take a waterfall. We send in the mower on the earthquake, we take another waterfall, and kill it with a 4 times effective shockwave. Almost. Knowing it's faster than us, we need to switch. We send in the cat for another intimidate, as he uses the full restore, and we send in the mower again on the earthquake. We go for a substitute to make sure we live the next hit. We fire a shockwave. The waterfall doesn't actually break the sub thanks to the 2 intimidates, and it lives again on the red. He breaks the sub with the next waterfall, and we're able to kill it with yet another shockwave. In comes a big crow, and it is going to go for a random move, so we're sending the metal snake, who resists 3 out of 4, and luckily he goes for a night slash. Expecting the heat wave, we send in the cat to at least lower its attack, and we send the snake back on the heat wave that was going to kill after the intimidate. That was a really bad play. We send in the shark on another heat wave. This does nothing, and we're able to get rid of it with 2 dragon claws. And finally, the big bat, who would have been completely walled by the snake if we didn't actually screw up. We throw 1 dragon claw, dealing around half its health, and the second one puts him in the red. Knowing he has another full restore, we go for another dragon claw before sending in the unexpected hero of the fight, the beaver. He dodges an air slash and takes a critical cross poison, but is able to put it back in the red with strength. And then he dodges another air slash and is able to finish the fight with yet another strength. I was talking so much shit about HMs before. After getting beaten, he bestows on us the responsibility of destroying the world and leaves into the distortion world. Like, dude, we are going to leave, it's up to you, jail or hell. We go with Cynthia to meet Satan, and whoa, now you let me go first. I'm starting to think you're not as helpful as I made you to be. We finally meet the god of the distortion world, Giratina, and yeah, we solve this, same as every single legendary. Just throw the master ball and leave. Not even going to pretend I had another plan for it. Cyrus is kind of annoyed that his whole plan failed, and then again, he decides to spend his life in hell. Guess now he sees that Satan is gone and he might be able to turn this place around. We get back to the regular world in send-off string, kind of ironic to say goodbye to the villain here, and as a reward, we get another encounter, a mummy. We go check on the professor, he congratulates us on catching Satan and points us on our new direction, the next gym in Sunnyshow. We head on to Route 222, where we get ourselves another ape, and we make it to Sunnyshow, where Flint asks us to beat the gym leader, and we definitely have to oblige. We go to the gym and as per usual, he's not there, so we go find him at the lighthouse. And wow, this guy's really fed up with his job. Picture just some kid with a month hike they found heading into the gym day after day. Must be pretty annoying. We get to one of the best gym puzzles in my opinion, and after all of the encounters we got, this should be a walk in the... Right, it might take a little bit more planning than I thought. We make it to Volkner without any other setbacks, and we face the last of the gym leaders. He starts with a Thunderdog into a frog, and we get rid of it with an earthquake. In comes a big rat, who dies to another earthquake, and in comes the Electivire. At this point, we are ready to sort of start sacking, so we start hitting earthquakes with the frog, but thanks to Electivire just going for quick attacks, we're able to get rid of it as well. Finally, in comes a cat, and the frog has earned its right to live. So we send in a ghost on a crunch. So we send in the Metal Snake, who trades Rock Tombs with Fire Fangs, well, the two that actually land, and we unveil the actual strat. The plan was to slow down this to make 100% sure our shark could come in, use Dig, dodge the Ice Fang, and kill the final cat. And with that, we are ready to get to Victory Road and face the Elite Four. We get jumped by Nutsup, who weirdly doesn't want a fight, and this girl who looks like the kind of person who would have a gym with 2/3 of her team from another generation, but she's nice enough to give us the HM for Waterfall, the last we need. Which kind of means we have to change our team again to fit yet another HM. On to Route 223 and finally the Pokemon League. Well, the entrance, which is the worst entrance ever. Where some people would have a doormat to make sure not all of the shit you bring in from the street comes into the place. They actually accumulate all of the shit and put bridges over it. Yeah, I always hated Victory Road. It's like a route where anything can die if you don't pay attention, and you always need to have all of the HMs in your party. It's just a nightmare. Like this example of our Rampados obliterating our HM boy. So what did we do? I'd rather go through Victory Road with only 5 Pokemon than having another one of my team members being force-fed the HMs. Luckily, the rest of Victory Road doesn't have any setbacks, but the hero that destroyed Cyrus is a pretty big loss. And there's usually a tough fight with a rival at the end. Oh, I kind of expected Nutsup to be here. Make it out of this godforsaken cave, but at what cost? But no time to mourn. We are ready to fight the League. As we are about to ask the receptionist for the opening hours, Nutsup rushes in, and we finally got somewhere before him. He starts the final rival fight with Bird into our cat, so we intimidate each other, and he U-turns into Snorlax, so we need to switch. This move was actually more big brain than anything I have done so far. We send in the Carp on the Earthquake, and we start setting up Dragon Dances while he body slams. With 2 of those, we use Waterfall. That doesn't actually kill, and we have to kill it with an Ice Fang. Next comes a Beetle, so we send in the Bird to intimidate and kill with a Fly, and that was actually much closer than I thought it would be. Next comes the Bird again, and being at low health we need to switch, but our options are actually running thin. We send in the Snake on an Aerial Ace, and next one is going to be a close combat, so we need to think about what could take one of those, and we could still win the fight, and the Chimp is our best bet, and he takes the close combat like a champ. And with the defense drop, we can send in the Shark to get rid of the Bird with a critical Dragon Claw, and here's where Garchomp shows how busted he is, because he gets rid of the Horse with a Dig, the Rose with another crit Dig, and even the Big Penguin. I'm so glad we did all of the encounter routing to guarantee it in Wayward Cave. And with that, it's showtime, baby!
Come on, boys, eh? First game of the season, let's get out. Must-win game, yeah? Got to get off to a good start. Let's get going, boys, yeah? Come on, let's do this, yeah? Come on, boys, let's do it. All right, come on, hurry up. Gaffer, come on, son.
So we are ready to face the Elite Four, and it might have been the dumbest introduction of all of the Nuzlockes we've done, but this is actually the one that had the most thought put into it. We start with Aaron, the Bug-type specialist, and he starts with a Dragonfly into our Shark, and being fast up on the first turn, since this thing has speed boost, we deal with it with a 4 times effective Rock Slide. Next comes our Bug, who's not actually a bug, just wanting to use Ice Fang, so we switch in our Cap to resist the Ice Fang, the Carp to intimidate and take the X-Scissor, back to our Cap on the Cross Poison, back to our Carp for another Intimidate on another weak X-Scissor, and we go for another roll on the switches between Cap and Carp to lower its attack even further as we set up a Dragon Dance. The other goal of this is to make sure he wastes his healing turn while we set up yet another Dragon Dance to go on the full offense. Now we hit 2 waterfalls and the Bug is down. Next comes the Bee, but we have taken too much damage, so we send in the cap on the power gem and send out the shark on the defend order. We set up a sword stance on the second defend order, another sword stance, like, dude, thanks for letting me set up with guard jump. We kill the bee, we kill the beetle with a dragon claw, and finally the mantis with an earthquake. Next we face Bertha and her ground types. He starts with catfish, and this thing can do practically nothing to our carb. So we start setting up dragon dances on it while it misses 3 Zen headbutts in a row, and after 2 dragon dances we can start the sweep thanks to none of her Pokemon having sturdy and being weak to waterfall. First Geology's older brother, then a rhino, then a bat, and finally a hippo. 2 down, 2 to go, halfway there. Next we face Flint, the fire type specialist, and he's probably ready after hearing what we did to his pal Faulkner. He starts with the Hellhound into our shark, who gets rid of it with an earthquake. Next comes a lava cannon thingy, who dies to yet another earthquake. Then the fire horse, who, guessed it, falls to another earthquake. In comes the fire dog, who dies to another earthquake. And finally the chimp, who at least gets off an earthquake before falling to yet another earthquake. Almost there, 2 fights to go. Next we face Lucian, the psychic type specialist, and this one isn't going to be as straightforward as the last 2. We start with the shark into the mime, we set up sword stance as he uses reflect, we set up a second one on the light screen, and a third one on the psychic, and from that we try to sweep. We take a pretty big hit from the psychic fox, which means our sweep is actually not going to happen. We send in the Hellhound on the bell as it uses Core Mind, so we throw a crunch as it throws an earthquake at us. Just a pretty dumb move on my part with Houndoom being a special attacker and with him only have an earthquake to damage us. We send in the carp as he gets crit on the Jeroball. Still doing nothing, we set up a Dragon Dance on a Calm Mind, and this might actually end up getting tricky. And a second one on the Psychic, who doesn't kill but drops our special defense. Thanks to that gamble, we can actually kill this thing with Waterfall. Not sure if the crit actually mattered there. A Gallade comes in, and thanks to that setup, we can kill it with Waterfall, and finally get rid of the Alakazam with another one. Elite 4, done. Only 1 fight to go. And it all has led to this, Cynthia, the champion that gave a whole generation PTSD and whose legacy has followed all the way to the future with the game in the past. I know it's a paradox, but that's a thing in Pokemon as well, right? So we faced the trauma that started 15 years ago with all of the calmness from the scientific approach just out of the window. It's time to panic, bitch. She opens with Spiritomb, who in this generation has no weaknesses, and we send in Houndoom. We set up a nasty plot as it uses Silver Wind, and we throw a flamethrower, not killing it, but burning it. It sends a Dark Pulse our way, and it dies thanks to the burn. Next comes Milotic, and we send in Quagsire, who has been here all of this time just to be a switch-in on water-type attacks with Water Absorb. We put the Milotic to sleep with Yawn, and we start throwing earthquakes at it as it uses Mirror Coat, which only works on special moves. As it falls asleep, we send in the Carp and we set up a Dragon Dance as the Milotic instantly wakes up and crits us with Ice Beam. We go for a second Dragon Dance as it uses Mirror Coat, a third one as it goes for Ice Beam again, and now it's time to attack. We go for a Bite that doesn't kill but makes Cynthia use her full restore. That's actually useful. And with 2 bites we're able to kill the Water Serpent, and we face Togekiss. At plus the 3 attack, we kill it with an Ice Fang. In comes the Lucario, and at plus 3 attack, we kill it with Waterfall. Next comes the Garchomp that there's nothing it could do against a Carp. And finally comes the Roserade, who dies to another Ice Fang. And with that, sweet, sweet revenge, served after cooling for a very, very long time, and actually with not that much of a hustle, which means one pretty optimistic thing, which is, I'm getting better at this. Another message to a person who has definitely wronged me. Young Brucky, don't know how you struggle against this, so get good, sucker!